in just those 3 scriptures, in that verse, in that chapter. So we have, before we get saved, we have a heart, exactly, right? We all have a heart. And so before we get saved, we have what's called an old nature. Or you could say a old heart. So that old heart is spiritually dead. It doesn't recognize God, doesn't recognize the favor of God, doesn't recognize anything that we do based on God. Allow you to soften up yourself to receive what God is trying to do in your life, because you're self-centered based on what you want to do because of your old heart and or your old nature. And during that time, you become very rebellious and you're resistant to God's will because you want your will to be done. You don't want to lay your will down and take on the will of God. You want your will to lead, guide, and direct you in the path in which you would like to go based on the desires that you have that are not legitimate desires. God's called us to have legitimate desires to follow him. And if those desires is not in line with God and what his will is for your life, then those are illegitimate desires because they're based on what you would like to do as opposed to what God called you to do as an individual. And so when we get saved, God gives us a new heart. So we go from being dead in our old heart and our old nature to being spiritually alive in our new heart. We're able to receive and respond to God in the appropriate way because we have him centered in the middle of our heart, and we're doing and walking according to his will and what he's called us to do because he renews our mind. So before we were saved, we had a mind, but it wasn't a renewed mind. It was kind of like a fixed mindset. I'm going to do what I want to do based on this gift that I have. And your gift will make a way for you, but your gift will also lead you into a ditch. Your gift will make a way for you, but your gift will also lead you into a ditch. You need God to renew your mind so that your gift is in accordance with his will and what he's called you to do. If you're doing what you want to do based on your abilities, based on your know-how that you have, based on talking to somebody, and you haven't gotten any wisdom, you haven't even got any wisdom or any counsel from wise folk, then it's going to lead you to a ditch. Look at somebody and say, suddenly. Look at somebody, the next person on the other side, and say, suddenly. You don't have to wait a long time. When you wake up in the morning, you say, God, I have an expectation of what I want you to do today, and I want that expectation to come to fruition. Breakthrough. You say, God, I'm going to go to church, and I'm going to lift your name. Breakthrough. You say, God, I'm going to stand up, read your word. Breakthrough. God, I'm going to praise you and lift your name with what I'm going through. Breakthrough. It's sudden, and it's dramatic. Why is it dramatic? Because people are not going to understand and don't recognize the change in you. You ain't going to have to say a word. All you're going to have to do is walk the walk and do what God's called you to do and confess the name in private. It doesn't have to be a public confession to folk. It just can be a private confession to folk. And then walk in what God's called you to walk in, his goodness and his grace, because his goodness and grace upholds you. So if you walk in goodness and grace, people are going to recognize. They're going to say, what the world happened? They say, Ron J., what's going on with Terrence? He won't like that. Grace. Grace. Because we have to respond rightly to that grace through obedience again, through surrender, and through action. So that grace opens the door and it pushes back any barriers that confronts us. It gives us a new opportunity to access God in a different way. It provides freedom and clarity for us. And it also gives us some deliverance, and it transforms us because grace fixes stuff that we can't see ourselves. It can't be fixed if it wasn't for grace. Grace goes to places that you cannot imagine to fix things. Those things can be spiritual things. Those things can be emotional things. They can be a purpose-based thing. So if it's a spiritual thing, grace gets into the crooks and crevices of any guilt or shame that you have, any addiction that you have. It releases you from emotional bitterness. A lot of us walk around all the time with unforgiveness because we're bitter. And that bitterness gets down in the crevices of your being, and it holds you bound to that thing because you have not released it to God. So grace that abounds gets into places that you can never imagine. But you have to extend yourself to grace and take a hold of grace and apply that grace to your body in every walk of your life so that you can follow the headship and the plan of God. Amen?